All right, welcome everyone to the Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 Montgomery Township Board of Education meeting. At this time, I entertain a motion to enter back into an open session.
So moved. Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same right. Any abstentions? Motion carries. At this time, we'll all rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll now move to our MTSD student representative report. Sophia.
Since our last meeting, the Great American Smokeout and the Montgomery Township Health Department set up a table at the high school to talk about the effects of drug abuse and to discourage vaping and other addictive habits, as well as encouraging students to quit. We also had Tide Senior, so that the senior class could raise money for the upcoming Disney trip. We also had a production of Midsummer Night's Dream earlier in November, and it was a very big community turnout with a lot of involvement from our stage crew, from the actors, and everyone at the high school. We also had the MHS Coffee House for students to perform musical arts pieces for the community. We also had our band and orchestra concerts last week. Also, the Governor's Educational Services Professional Award of the Year was given to guidance counselor Ms. Appel, and the Governor's Teacher Award of the Year was given to history teacher Mr. Flue. Also, our senior English classes went to the National Library Museum in Philadelphia, which hosts permanent galleries and changing exhibitions that explore the meaning of liberty today through contemporary art. And the students were there working on Christmas.
All right, thank you. We'll now move to superintendent's report / presentations.
Good evening, everyone. I want to begin by wishing you all a wonderful and happy holiday season. At the high school, to provide a real-life example of work done in the county, on January 8th, the high school students in Mr. Milo's media and graphic art classes will be taking a trip to visit the Somerset County Marketing and Communications Department located at the Somerset County Administration Building. The students are partnering with the county on a project to revamp the food drive for local food banks. It's slated to roll in 2025. Currently, the county food banks are in desperate need of cereal. The plan is to work together to create a campaign, possibly called Crunch Time, that will allow our students to learn the importance of connections for our county residents and community partners and bring a solution that has the potential to be the new standard for how the county collects food donations. While on site, students will be introduced to the entire department and explained what each entity performs. The county has public information, media, graphics, and the print shop. We will break into 4 groups, the students will break into 4 groups, which will cycle through 2 sessions. Each group will be given equal time and equal amount of demonstration time. The students will create a short reel as we build a press release, create content for social media in both photo and video format, and print collateral in the print shop. The media team will start editing the video during lunch, and after lunch, they'll have a short viewing party. They'll take a group photo of the class with a banner for the concept name and hold up some cereal boxes. They're very excited. On November 22nd and 23rd, the high school theater department performed Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream under the direction of Mr. David Gordon. The students re-imaged the Shakespearean classic setting it in 1970s. The themes of love, magic, rebellion, and transformation fit well into the turbulent world of the 1970s, when younger generations rallied together for peace and equality. On Thursday, December 12th, the seniors from the Expression and Empowerment English classes went to the National Liberty Museum in Philadelphia. The 4 floors of the museum host permanent galleries and changing exhibitions that explore the meaning of liberty today through contemporary art and the stories of real people from around the world who have done extraordinary work in the name of freedom. After a private tour of the museum, students enjoyed lunch at the Reading Terminal Market, Philly's oldest public market, which has been in operation since 1893. At UMS, the month of December has been a festive time. The The chorus, band, and jazz band and orchestra concerts have brought together the students, staff, and families to celebrate the students' incredible talents and welcome the holiday season with joy. The winter sports teams have started wrestling, boys basketball, and girls basketball, already with an amazing start, impressive personal and team victories. A special shout out to our enthusiastic student fan base for showing up and cheering on the teams during the home games. UMS is also thrilled to share the transitions vocational classes have been hard at work bringing back the beloved Cougar Cafe. The tea and coffee cart is officially back in business. Students are excited to take staff orders and make deliveries, showcasing their skills and dedication. LMS ushered in the holiday spirit with two fabulous big brass band concerts presented by the 5th and 6th grade students. The student concerts were remarkable and everyone left each concert feeling a sense of joy and celebration. In January, they will launch the new year with the first student-run Ed Camp of the school year. On January 17th, students will explore their passions while connecting with peers across different grades who share similar interests. Auditions for this year's play, LMS's play, Seussical, is underway. The 5th grade chorus enjoyed a field trip to the Lincoln Center to view the Magical Flute Opera. Students here at Orchard are busy wrapping up December with a focus on various celebrations that take place at this time of year. Some of our first graders recently completed classroom rotations to learn about different holidays and their celebrations. Others use their engineering and design skills to make model gingerbread houses as part of the fun-filled family event. Nonfiction reading and writing is also a focus for our classrooms this time of year. Students are becoming more and more familiar with the various components of nonfiction text while learning how to grow their thoughts about their books. In writing, students enjoy crafting how-to books where they pick a topic that they are an expert on, which is funny because they're an expert on it, and think about what they could teach their audience on the topic. This concludes the superintendent report. Again, I wish you all a very happy holiday season and a happy new year. The reorganization meeting of the board will be on Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. And now we have our presentation on the audit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
So I'm the only one. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Eric Zimmerman, and I'm from Supply Cleaning Company, where we do the audit, the annual audit for the district. You're required every year to have an audit done, and basically the purpose of the audit is to issue an opinion on your financial statements, whether they're free from material misstatement and in conformance with the rules and regulations of the state of New Jersey. We're issuing in the report this year a clean opinion. It's an unmodified opinion. That's the best one that you can get. And basically what that means is your financial statements can be relied upon, whether it's for debt issuances or things of the like. Your financial reports are fairly stated. A little background this year and for the next 2 years, there's been legislation that has passed temporarily piloting the annual due date. It has always been in years past, it was December 5th. For this year's audit and for next year's audit, it's now January 15th. So I'm pleased to tell the board that your audit is finished and it will be in compliance with the deadline. That will be in January upcoming. Also, as part of our audit, the Department of Education, they ask us to look into various departments within the district. And that's the smaller report that you have. Within that report, we have a recommendation that has to be read aloud at this meeting. The recommendation 2024-001 is that accounting controls be improved to better track grant expenditures in their proper reporting periods. So you'll have to have a corrective action plan to be approved to follow this up. But I'm pleased to tell you that the corrective action plan has already been implemented. So this is something that should not be an issue going forward. Last thing I'll touch on the finances of the district. Again, once again, the district remains in good financial shape. And I'll point you to a page in the bigger report, starts on 84. It's the exhibit C1 in the report. And what it tells you is your budgetary revenues and expenditures, and then corresponding fund balance. And basically, that's where you landed at the end of the year as of June 30th, 2024. This is important to the district because as you're now in your budget season, this is the numbers that you really need to focus on as you're preparing your budget for your fiscal year 26. And that's what I have. Keep it nice and brief. But with that, if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
I have a question about the grant. I don't know if it's going to be from you or for who can answer it. But when I read that, I was curious as to what grants were not reported in the correct tracking periods, and if it was anything that was being rolled over from one year to the next. I see there's something on our approval list tonight for what was it? Special education funds, and then I know that the HIT grant got carried over, things like that. Is all of that how is this impacted?
That's a fair question. Mr. Zimmerman, not to put you on the spot, we had that discussion previously before the meeting. Could you please speak to what happened previously and what we discussed as the corrective action to ensure that hopefully that doesn't happen again?
Yeah, sure. It gets a little in depth, so if you have questions, just stop me. The federal programs that you get grants from, IDA, USDA, all those grants, they have a fiscal period end date September 30th. So it doesn't coincide with your fiscal year end for the audit. What that means is there's a run out period, as they call it, where you can continue to accumulate expenditures from July 1 to September 30th, and then you submit for reimbursement with that grant with your final completion report that you do every year. Okay, so the BA or someone in the business office does a final expenditure report for each of the federal programs, and it has to tie out to these expenditures. After that's done, whatever's left in that grant, in those federal programs, it carries over into the next year's grant funding allotment. So let's say you have $100,000 left unspent, that is now carryover funds into the next fiscal year's grant, so you can spend them in the next year. What happened here was more on the accounting side with a combination of issues. One with encumbrances, and encumbrances go onto the system that you use for finance, which a lot of districts use, System 3000, into a new budget report. So it's two separate reports that you need to pick up the expenditures that you submit for reimbursement. So that was one of the problems where, not consistently, but there were occasions where they were missed or overlooked and not submitted for. And then the reverse happened where there were expenditures that were duplicated because the system that prevailed, expenditures were submitted for reimbursement in the run-out period, and then they were subsequently submitted for reimbursement again in the next year, which should not be. But the correction was to have separate program coding in the system so that you can track, for example, IDA. You can have two program codes, both for IDA, and then it separates the years. So otherwise, when you're looking at a budget report with the finance system, it's a moment in time, right? Unless you get the detail of the purchases that are booked in the system, you're not going to be able to tell when those expenditures were from. Okay, it's just going to give you budget, action, blah blah blah. So by implementing, having separate coding, as the run-out period ends, there should be no more expenditures in that run-out period program code. Okay, it's just done and ties out to the final completion report, and then your next fiscal year grant should be covered on the normal program code for that program.
So that would take care of the duplicates, but how do we make sure that never happens with the missing?
So essentially, it all comes to the same point of coding, and unfortunately these grants, they work in different years, and our school years go from July to June. The grants carry over. So for example, like your IDA grant by New Jersey Chart of Accounts begins 20 to 250, and then there's a string. What I've done in my experience is I ended I'll end at 024 for that fiscal year. The carryover period will have 024 carryover in the new school year, not to make this too confusing, and I'll code it carryover. So then when the new one is put in, I'll have 025 for that fiscal year and not have carryover. So it's basically having familiarity with our program, knowing how to separate them through the different periods, and just experience doing them. And I walked through the different situations that happened with Mr. Zimmerman, because they happened before I was here. I explained to him how I've handled these in the past. And we're pretty confident that they'll be, something like this won't be a repeat. It's just, we have the whole year to review everything, and everything right now between myself and Ms. Lorray in the office is up to date. So all we have to do is maintain what we're doing, and we won't be having this conversation a year from now. It's the best answer I can give.
Thank you.
Question? County materiality, how much was it? Just to put into context too, like, are we talking this or is it?
Yeah, I mean, so if you look, the number is in the report, because we did it, there was an adjustment that had to be made back to the general fund. So there were expenditures that basically were in Fund 20 that should have been reimbursable, but the grant period had ended. So you could not submit for reimbursement for those. So those expenditures had to shift to now the general fund budget, which is funded by, you know, obviously your taxpayer dollars and your state. Off the top of my, I don't want to say off the top of my head, hold on. Yeah, it's on that C1 that I was talking about, 84. But that's what was driving the recommendation that was in the report. Overall, it was below materiality for as far as the financial statements go on a whole. Okay, so that's why there's no modification to the opinion on your financial statements.
Ultimately, Mr. Nunez, the way that's avoided is by doing periodic drawdowns each month as the grants are being spent. So by the time we get to the end of the school year, all the supplies and services are received. Everything is drawn down so you don't miss the period. So that's what we can control moving forward, so that doesn't repeat itself. So the general fund dollars aren't supplementing grant dollars that were already awarded. So that's the corrective action for that.
I have a small question. How many years can you carry it? Just 1 year?
So you could continuously carry over. Your goal, though, essentially, is to try to spend the money as fast as you can. Because once you continuously get into a habit of carrying over, that's where the bookkeeping challenges come in. And ultimately, everybody wants money. And there's more needs out there than we have money for. So the goal going forward, as I've worked with our administrative team, is to identify our balances right now in real time. So by the time the spring comes, these grants are not in a position to be carried over. So that's really our goal moving forward, to work within the year to get the students the things they need faster and avoid the bookkeeping errors.
One question. You mentioned that what the issue was had two issues, right? Like one was related to duplicate reimbursements. Did you track those reimbursements to see if those two duplicate reimbursements were actually paid out, or like what was the correction to the duplication of reimbursements?
So I guess, and we track during the audit process, we'll use the systems and the reports from eWIG, which is the reporting site where you have to do the drawdowns on. And we can get a listing of all the drawdowns that happen and tie them into the financial records to see that whatever was submitted for was received. There were instances where we could tell directly because of what the drawdowns were, they were the same. And you could tell from a period financial statement that was done, like, okay, these were the expenditures that were duplicated for that same drop down amount. But outside of doing that, there's no way to really know what expenditures you're submitting for unless you're tracking it separately. Because again, if you look at that budget report for the whole year, it's just one line item and it goes across. So it makes our life a little bit more difficult, especially going back to the fact that these grants have a different time period to track what expenditures were submitted for compared to what needs to be rolled over into the subsequent year.
But does this mean that we actually process duplicate reimbursements twice and that the cash moved twice on those reimbursements?
So there were occasions where it appeared that, the reimbursements were received twice for federal programs. And again, as you're doing that, you're supposed to do monthly drawdowns. As you do that, you submit. There's no check from eWIG or anything like that will stop that. It has to be the controls that are in place in the board office. All right, so yeah, it did happen, and then that net effect was what caused the recommendation and the adjustment into the general fund.
But what was your recommendation to correct that? Should we return the money?
No, so again, because overall, it was the opposite direction. Okay, so it wasn't, at the end of the day, the net effect was we recorded more expenditures in Fund 20, taking out the adjustment for the duplication. Okay, so the net effect was still the other way.
I see.
If that was the case, on those schedules, we have schedules in the report for Schedule A and B. It's your federal awards and your state awards. There'd be due to grantor on there, if that was the case.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Again, thanks to the board office. I know I haven't really worked with Andrew yet, but it's always an easier job that we go to. Okay, but when we're in the board office, we're getting everything that we ask for pretty promptly. So we appreciate that. So thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. Have a wonderful holiday.
We'll now move to committee representative reports. First up, MTEA report. Mr. Rizzoli.
Good evening, everyone. First, we're going to start with some congratulations and recognitions. Congratulations to all the MTA recipients of the Governor's Teacher Awards and ESP Awards. Big shout out for them for each building. And next up, the MTA takes great pride in the amazing people that we have within our organization. Dan Kerwin is one of those amazing people that we have, and he served 26 years in the district. It is my honor to congratulate Dan, who won the Somerset County Educational Support Professional Award for all ESPs across the entire county. Dan started right here in Orchard as a night custodian and worked his way into the grounds position. Dan, one of his fondest memories is setting up the train at LMS every year for all the kids to hang out and see. Dan has served within the MTA as an exec representative for the grounds maintenance and custodians for many years. He has always been a fierce advocate to bring their needs to the forefront. So I want to make sure I congratulate Dan. It is a huge honor and shows the quality of people that we have here in Montgomery. So big congrats to Dan. In other MTA news, we're going to start our virtual read alouds. The first one is tomorrow, so you can join in. Tune In We Know is a big hit amongst the community, so we're going to have The Words Between Us will be our first book up that we have. And then the MTA would like to wish everyone a great holiday and enjoy the break. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you have any board member, delegate / representative reports this evening?
I have one. I attended the NJSBA Delegate Assembly meeting on December 7th. The Delegate Assembly is the NJSBA's major policy setting body. Twice a year, board representatives from all districts in New Jersey meet to participate in setting the policies and bylaws that guide the association. On December 7th, the Delegate Assembly voted on 7 resolutions. There are 3 resolutions that were relevant to our district. The first one was presented by Lapcong Warren County Board of Education, and they proposed additional language to be codified in NJSBA bylaws, establishing a date by which the RC resolution report is to be provided to each Board of Education in advance of each delegate assembly. Currently, the bylaws do not establish a date by which the RC report must be provided, but the Assembly approved the additional language that would require the RC resolution report to be shared with the school boards in no less than 21 days in advance of the delegate assembly meeting. That would allow the school boards to discuss the resolutions, make suggestions, and the representatives that is sent to vote will be able to represent the full board. The resolution was very well supported and it passed with 90% yes vote. The second resolution was also presented by the same Board of Ed, and it was related to the notification of public hearings. They proposed a new policy language to permit schools to advertise public notices in electronic media outlets in lieu of newspapers. The NJSBA believes that boards should be permitted to publish all public meeting notices and mandatory reference materials through electronic media in lieu of publication in physical newspaper as required pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act or any other law or regulation requiring public notification of the meeting of the board, including but not limited to regular meetings, special meetings, or public meetings. There was a discussion by the delegates about whether or not the electronic notifications will be sufficient to reach all taxpayers and stakeholders. The resolution is to give the local board another option to publish the public notices to serve their communities the best. The resolution passed with 82% yes vote. Then there was another resolution that was presented by the Verona board. They presented a resolution that was related to payment in lieu of taxes, the pilot agreements. The resolution stated that the municipalities should be required to include the Board of Education in the consideration and development of any payment in lieu of taxes, the pilot agreements, that has the potential to increase student enrollment. The Assembly further believes that the Board of Education should be a member of the Municipal Negotiation Committee with equal rights and decision-making authority to provide input and receive appropriate portions of community benefits. That resolution was also very well supported and passed with 95% support vote. There's 6 other resolutions, but I'm willing to post them for anyone who is willing to learn about them. Any questions?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Will we be moving to electronic only submission of board notices, or will we continue publishing in the local papers?
I think eventually, like when guidance comes out, we probably will be moving to them just for the sake that more physical publications are becoming obsolete like over time.
And that was discussed at the delegate assembly.
Exactly.
Star Ledger, I think, starting in February, is going electronic. Trenton Times is going to be going electronic. So
Yeah,
that was some of the discussion that was held at the assembly.
That was definitely in response to the trend that we start seeing, that even the papers that right now operate in print, they are moving into the electronic media space.
All right, any other board member, delegate, or representative reports this evening? Hearing none, we'll move into board committee reports. First up, Assessment Curriculum Instruction Committee. Board member Dowling.
Good evening. ACI met on December 6th, both in virtual and in person. I asked for 2 agenda items to be placed on the agenda, having to do with 2 questions that came my way. The first question had to do with parent conferences, and the second question had to do with class placement. In terms of parent conferences at the high school principal addressed this question by saying that conferences were held for parents and teachers in 2011, and that was the last year that they had done so. The reason was because the amount of time allotted for the conferences for each subject was only 11 minutes. Conferences take away instructional time for students, and the current schedule builds in time for expected conferences with parents at will and as needed. So there's been a big push to communicate throughout the school year so that parents and teachers can have meetings at any time and in real time. The whole focus was really to make sure that parents and teachers were talking in real time about an issue having to do with the student versus waiting until a conference time is scheduled within the school year. The second question had to do with class placement and the student process experience. And in response to that question, the school, particularly in the high school, makes sure to communicate the full breadth of the courses that are available to students. They also continue to expand options that they are sure have a broad access of options for students. They look at the complete student profile and data, including the test scores of the students in the area that they want to stretch themselves in. Their standardized testing, their SATs, and their PSAT scores are all taken into consideration. What's difficult to communicate is it would be irresponsible to place students in courses that they are not capable or ready to handle. Class sizes are built with students in mind that are appropriate for that course, and they are moved away from a one-size-fits-all approach. The high school spends a large amount of time counseling students with options that best fit them, beginning in the 8th and 9th grade years. Then we bounced back to the regular agenda for the meeting, beginning with Ms. Borland, who presented the idea of a French pilot resource. The high school world language teachers are looking for a new resource for the French class. With new resources that they have tried out, they are piloting, and teachers are using parts of what they're researching to hopefully bring to the board for approval in the coming months. The digital textbooks are used by the world language teachers right now, and they are quite effective. So they're looking for different pieces from different resources to be able to solidify it and then identify it in Atlas. The grant tutoring that we were talking about earlier which is an online tutoring company, is on tonight's agenda for approval. Last school year, you probably remembered that there was a presentation about this in-person tutoring service that was utilized in both VES and LMS. When they had the tutors at the schools, it was a very good program and it was run efficiently. However, there were staff shortages. They spent $100,000 last year, and they have $100,000 left from this grant. The grant was then extended, and they opened up the parameters for what they could use the grant for. For this school year, they are targeting 30 third and fourth grade students in literacy. The target students will be those identified as approaching proficiency. And this tutoring service will provide a placement test, an online platform, screened and certified teachers, record keeping, and progress monitoring. They will start by the end of January, and there will be 2 6-week sessions which will end before the the NJSLS testing. The state approved this in terms of the plan moving forward. We then talked about the ERI, Emotional Regulation Impairment Program at OHES. The district has researched several programs. In other districts, this district noticed students are having more and more issues with regulation, especially in OHES. We will open the program, they want to open this program in January. The first 2 students are in kindergarten and 1 is in 1st grade. They've identified a teacher on staff to support the program. I also identified a class space at OHES. These students are usually on target academically, but need assistance for emotional needs. The class will be treated like any other self-contained classroom. They will start small and have them participate in general education areas. The teacher has toured other district programs and did professional development on social emotional learning curriculum. They will also be educating the school community on ERI and doing more PD for the entire staff at OHES. The district is hoping to expand this program over the next couple of years throughout the district. Then Mr. Delgado brought up the administration of the behavioral and emotional screening system. That first week in December, UMS and MHS administered the screen in grades 7 through 12, and in January they will administer them in grades 5 and 6. Questions on the screener help us identify the markers that are designated to detect students that might be struggling more than typically. They screen them in controlled environments in social studies and in English classes. The screening does need parental approval that is given through the consent through the Genesis. Currently, there are under 30% of parents at the high school and around 20% at the middle school level that waive out of the screening. No change in the number of students waived out. The numbers have been pretty consistent for the last 3 years. Mr. Delgado will review the data and will report back to the committee. When flags are raised using this screening device, there are a couple of tiers of support that the school follows, starting with a visit with a counselor and communication with the parent. Any questions or comments?
I do have a question.
Yes.
I was the one who brought this parent-teacher conference
Yes.
issue. Do we have parent-teacher conference for everybody until 8th grade? Or we have only in elementary school?
No, the middle schools have it.
The middle schools have them? The middle schools do.
Middle school, and not upper middle school?
Correct, not 9 through
Not
12.
7, no.
No, 7 and 8 do.
7 and 8.
9 through 12 do not.
9,
7 and 8 do it only if requested by a parent
Or the teacher.
Or the teacher.
or the teacher.
Okay, so it's not a couple of days in a year you have set for parent-teacher conference. It's not like that.
I only asked about the high school, so I will get a direct unless superintendent knows the specifics.
They also
But
have that whole time built in for that real-time communication via emails, phone calls, etc., in-person meetings, Google Meets.
If any parent wants to come and see the teacher, what is the process? They have to write an email?
Yes.
And they get to see the teacher when, after school, or?
They can mutually agree upon a time.
Okay, so they have to, so they will be given a chance to come and meet the teacher?
Yes.
Okay.
And there is also a release day or a release afternoon, even in the middle school.
Yes, there is.
Yes, so it's a early release day for students where those conferences are taking place just as they would in OHES and BES.
In 2011, when they stopped doing a parent-teacher conference for high school, what was the data? How many parents were usually taking use of those parent-teacher conference? Do you know?
I don't know if we could gather that information.
And if I recall from the comments from the meeting, it was very low. The attendance was very low at those conferences.
So there were a lot of parents who wanted to.
No, a lot of parents that did not show up. They had the day scheduled and the time scheduled, but parents did not take advantage of it.
I see.
I think the key there is to really stress the communication piece in terms of when a parent has an issue or a question that want to ask the teacher, that you need to reach out to the teacher and then make a mutually exclusive time to either talk on the phone or meet in person.
And they're I will say personally, the teachers that I've met with over this year and last year and in previous years are extremely, willing and able and have scheduled meetings, especially now since post-COVID. So many things are able to be done virtually. I've met with multiple teachers of my own students virtually this year, outside of conference times. They're very willing, which is appreciated.
So just going back to our, what we committed to do from a strategic plan perspective, right? Make sure that we connect with the community and the school. So, to Benita's point, I think, and I know in your school in particular, there's quite a few students that those parent-teacher conferences are taking place. I think it would be beneficial for us to have that discussion or continue having that discussion maybe until the 8th grade, because as we look at the communications plan and as we think about how we want to improve connection with the community, how we want to continue the back and forth feedback, Michelle addressed some of the issues around, how the curriculum is picked, right? 7th and 8th grade, I feel, are such important years where if maybe we had a structured
parent-teacher conferences in place, it would allow for parents to have those discussions as their kids enter high school. Maybe high school is not necessary, but I know in upper middle school, if you do request a conference, it's a panel discussion. So all the teachers are sitting around, at least that's in the few years ago that I was there. That's
Interestingly, we had that discussion, and Ms. Pino did address that at the discussion at ACI, and I believe we could also probably get Ms. Rivera, thank you, to weigh in as well. But Ms. Pino said that it's very intimidating for parents when you have those panel discussions and you have all of those teachers at once, and that typically it's much more effective to have the meetings taking place one-on-one, especially content-wise, and I would agree with that for UMS and LMS, because they do have so many teachers, and to sit around with 8 teachers is very difficult.
Right, and it's the 8 teachers on the team that the student has
It's the team,
in their
right,
schedule.
right.
I wanted to-
In 11 minutes. So yeah, I can see but so that's not what's happening at this point. It's really become more of a one-to-one.
Okay, well, just my point, going back to the communications plan, that it's an opportunity for us to really explore that a little bit further, because we end so early with 6th grade, maybe extending into 7th and 8th grade would be something that would
7th and 8th grade has a formal parent-teacher conferences like 5th and 6th grade in the school calendar. They do. I have the school calendar right here. They have the same.
They have a panel, but they don't formally meet with the parents unless the parents request, right?
Or they request, right? So if the child is struggling, they might request, yeah. But it's the same for anybody, right? Like at Orchard, if a parent doesn't want to meet, they don't sign up for a time. If at Village they don't want to meet, they don't sign up for a time. So it's not really different.
I think we also have to look at it in the holistic sort of programmatic aspect, because I know that Mr. Delgado, through his health and wellness, he's looking at programmatically how to really reach parents and how to communicate on all different levels. So, there's 13 new websites and resources for parents in terms of, counseling, of picking classes, so I think we do have to do a better job of sort of communicating that all of that is out there. But if you look, there's a dramatic difference between even last year and this year in terms of resources that are out there for parents to be able to find that information that they need and reach out to teachers when they need to. So I do think we need to further communicate that, but I know that there's been a very big effort in that arena.
I think they have made additional improvements for from 8th grade into high school as well. But those come later on after the course selections and everything like that go through the high school first.
Doesn't mean there doesn't need to be more work done, but I think we're moving in the right direction. Yeah.
Sometimes I hear some schools don't want to do it because parents who opt to come for the parent-teacher conference, their kids are doing really well. They just want to come and hear that from the teacher. And I don't find anything wrong with that, because that's how we can motivate better parenting. And to tell the parents who are doing a good job with their kids and grades are good and the behavior is good and everything. So it's not a bad idea for those parents to hear that also, if they want to come and talk to the teacher about it. So that's why I feel like sometimes if there is, not only for the students who have some issues, the parents have to come. Sometimes they won't even come. But the parents who are doing good, they want to come and see. So as long as there's an opportunity for everybody to come and talk to teacher, that should be our goal, I feel.
Absolutely.
And that's how we are reaching out to the community.
It needs to be on both ends though, right? Parents have to show up, and then, we have to provide those opportunities. I also think that the real-time piece, I don't want to lose sight of how important it is. As a parent myself, I reach out to the teacher when my daughter comes home with a 55, right? Not that she does, but, the idea is that that's when you want to talk about the issue, not in November when the test was in October. You want real-time communication with your teachers. So I don't want to minimize that piece. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none. Up next, Operations, Facilities, and Finance Committee, Board Member Felak.
So the Operations, Facilities, and Finance Committee met on Wednesday, December 11th. And my report today will be very short because most of the time that we spent during the meeting was discussing the review and review comments and going through the audit report, which we already had an opportunity to hear the full report from the auditors. But after the auditors' discussion, our committee also discussed developments of the next year budget. The business administrator reported that the progress of collecting budget requests from our administrators and staff is in progress, and the draft budget report will be made available for the board to review, I believe in January. Am I right?
We're going to provide an update of our budget meetings with the budget managers in January.
In January. Then our superintendent and the BA attended a mid-year budget review at the Somerset County NJDOE office. The purpose of the mid-year review is to ensure that the school district's operations are on track with the approved budget. The meeting went very well, and the county and JDOE administrators were satisfied with the update provided by our district. The last item we discussed was an update to our travel reimbursement request report presented for the board approvals. As more professional development courses are offered online, I believe there is a need for updating our travel reimbursement request format, because reporting only the name of the course on the travel reimbursement approval request creates a challenge to link that one item that's approved by the board this month with the actual bill submitted for reimbursement next month. Because the next month, the bill will show the vendor's name, when this month, we only see the name of the course. So for example, when the name of the online course is the only information included on the travel reimbursement request report, the course name will not be listed as a vendor on the bills report submitted for the approval. The committee suggested a modification to the travel reimbursement request to include the name of the vendor. So I believe with that request, we will need to revisit policy 6471, which specifies what information should be included in our travel reimbursement request. So at the next committee meeting for the policy, maybe we can review that. I would really appreciate it. So that concludes my report.
Any questions for Board Member Felak?
Why would we be reimbursing for travel on an online course?
We have an approval, right? So when you look at the request for the reimbursement, you are approving an item. So that item just says the name of the course. But then if you want to track the payment to the actual bill that's being paid, you cannot find that name on the bill report because the bill will be paid to a vendor that offered that course. So including both the name of the course and the vendor name would basically link those two transactions together. It's just good transparency and financial reporting.
Essentially, I'm just going to add a piece to that. The travel report that we put forward to the board and to the public, it is consistent with Public Law 5. I read the Senate bill on that. Everything that we need to have included is included. If it wasn't, we would have received an audit recommendation from the auditor for not being transparent with the report. Most of the workshops we can look up online by the name and see what they are, but if anybody ever has a question on what they are, they could reach out to me. But this form is pretty much identical to any of the forms that I used at any other district that I worked at. So it's pretty standard. And you can look on any other district's website and compare our form to their form, and very similar. So, but if anybody ever has any questions on the what they are and you can't Google the name of them, ask me, I'll be happy to help. That's all I have to add to that.
Any other questions? Thank you, Board Member Fulak. Up next, Policy and Communications Committee, Board Member Whitlock Jernigan.
So we met on Thursday, one of those days, and we had a discussion in regards to two policies that we reviewed last month. One of them was 3160, one was 4160. They are on the agenda today. We had initial discussions around the district doing drug testing prior to hiring. I think we had a very collaborative discussion during our policy session where we actually had discussion around if any staff member is actually under suspicion for any influence, that the superintendent or administration will take the appropriate actions going forward. So those two policies are back on the agenda for approval. In addition to that, we had discussion last month and during our session around reviewing the NJSBA and the Strauss Esme, who's our current policy provider. I think, we have an opportunity to make improvements for our school district, particularly around the policy. I think over the last few years, being part of the policy committee, I have outlined some of the shortcomings of Strauss Esme, and what I've noticed with NJSBA is their heavy investment in building policies that are meant for parents and teachers, as well as students, that can be clearly outlined and specified. So one of the things we reviewed was the overview of NJSBA, so I would like to potentially bring it up for a vote for us to make that change. In addition to that, there's a different vehicle that's being utilized to track policies going forward with NJSBA that we could potentially consider as well shifting to, and that would track all of our documentation for all the board sessions, etc. So I just wanted the board to, I've sent the board quite a few emails about it, some of the assessments, some of the examples, so I'm hopeful that you all had a chance to take a look at it and would be willing to pursue a shift. From a communication perspective, we've had some requests from the board members that we streamline some of the communication to the board. So I think our communication specialist has done some work activating some of the communications for all of us in a concise manner. There is also a district celebration newsletter per the strategic plan that we've discussed, which will improve communication. The district will publish a newsletter 3 times a year. This newsletter will include information and pictures from all 5 schools. And in addition to that, we've also received the news that we have a new website provider. Final Site Company has now bought over the district's prior website provider, so I know Maria has experience with that, and everybody's high hopes that we'll have much user-friendlier experience on our overall website. As far as e-news is concerned, one of the things in our strategic plan was to have a fresh look for the district e-news, which will now be published every Friday. So that's also part of the communication piece. Any questions?
Just a plug for the communication survey that went out. There was a 2-question communications update survey. Yep, and it's just 2 questions, and e-news is one of them, and the other is about the new athletics and arts part of the website. Just looking for community feedback on that. Please provide the feedback so that the district knows how they're doing.
Thank you. So that survey already went out, or is about?
It's gone out, and there's been a couple reminder emails that have gone out as well. So everyone should have gotten that. I know I got it personally and on the board email.
It came by email or?
Both, yes.
Email. I need to look at my inbox. I don't remember seeing it.
Check your email.
Yep.
Thank you, Board Member Whitlock Jernigan.
Human Resources Committee, Board Member, I feel like my report's going to be shorter than yours. So we met on December 10th, and the only items we discussed involved personnel. That's it. So are there any other questions or comments on board committee reports?
I just have a comment, if I may. I think, I'm the leader for the negotiation committee, and we had some initial discussions already internally. I just wanted to say that we're looking forward to beginning the MTA negotiations as we await the dates from the association. So I just wanted to give that high-level update. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for approval of minutes. November 19, 2024, Executive Session 1. November 19, 2024, Executive Session 2. November 19, 2024, Executive Session 3. And November 19, 2024, Business Meeting.
So moved. Second.
It's been properly moved and second to approve these minutes. Any questions, comments on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same right. Abstentions? Thank you. There is no correspondence to the board for this month. Action agenda items, public comment. The Board of Education welcomes and encourages input from the public. Members of the public are allotted one opportunity to address the board regarding the action agenda items only for up to a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. All comments must be directed to the board. Before you make your comment, please state your full name and address and enter both on the Chromebook provided. Being mindful of privacy rights regarding students, board employees, and board members, and to avoid any liability on the part of the speaker, the board discourages defamatory and discourteous remarks. The public comment portions of the meeting are not structured as question and answer sessions, but rather are offered as opportunities for the public to share their thoughts with the board. The board may need to refer an issue to the superintendent if the issue has not been handled through the appropriate chain of command, usually starting at the school level. Responses may be provided at the end of this session. Action agenda items public comment portion is now open for comments on the action agenda items only. And when you approach the microphone, please state the action agenda item number that you are commenting on, please.
It doesn't seem like mine might reach any of the topics. This is for a school project.
So that will be in the public comment section.
Oh, so it does work for this time?
I'm sorry.
It does work for this time, because I thought, I'm
So
confused.
this-
There's a second.
Yeah, this portion is for any action agenda items that are listed
Oh.
on the agenda.
This is not public comment.
Correct.
It's public comment on only the agenda items, open public comments at the end of the
Follows,
meeting.
yes.
That would be the best time for that.
Yep. No worries. Seeing none, at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve action agenda items 1.0 through 4.4. 1.0 through 4.5.
So moved.
Second.
I have a question on 2.1.
Motion. It's been properly moved and second to accept agenda items 1.0 through 4.5. Any questions on the motion?
Just a small question on 2.1. There's one company being approved, Sunbelt Staffing, with all the different rates. I just wanted to know that, is this the rates for as and when we need their services,
Yes.
or are they for the entire year they're servicing us?
Well, it's the rates for the year, but it's as needed.
As we need it?
Right, if not needed, they are never used.
Okay.
Any other questions on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please. Mr. Italiano.
Thank you. Ms. Dowling?
Yes.
Ms. Filak?
Yes.
Ms. Franco Herman? Yes. Ms. Harris? Ms. Dargon?
Yes.
Mr. Nunez,
Yes.
Ms. Olegna Jernigan,
Yes.
Spina,
Yes.
Mr. Todd.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion's carried.
Thank you. New business from the public. The Board of Education welcomes and encourages input from the public. Members of the public are allotted one opportunity to bring any new business to the board for up to a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. All comments must be directed to the board. Before you make your comment, please state your full name and address and enter both on the Chromebook provided. Being mindful of privacy rights regarding students, board employees, and board members, and to avoid any potential liability on the part of the speaker, the board discourages defamatory and discourteous remarks. The public comment portions of the meeting are not structured as question and answer sessions. The board may need to refer an issue to the superintendent if the issue has not been handled through the appropriate chain of command, usually starting at the school level. Responses may be provided at the end of this session. Public comment is now open.
Hello again. So my name is Lisa Marzanella. I'm a senior at the high school and I live at 71 Livingston Drive in Bowman, New Jersey. I'm here as part of a project for my history course at the high school with Mr. Porcelli, Contemporary Issues and Leadership Honors, where I have to become an activist for an issue that I feel passionately about. So mine is education reform because I want to be a teacher. From my research, I found how important it is for students to get like free time in classes and just have free time to either take a rest during class, because here at the high school, I'm talking as importantly for like the high school. In the high school, we have 82-minute blocks. So we're sitting down for a lot of time. We're listening to lectures for a lot of time. Elementary school has more downtime. So I'm hoping that that there can be some sort of mandate or some sort of rule maybe that teachers can provide more break time for class, because like me personally, I'm sitting there for 82 minutes, there's lecturing. If everybody I know we've been sitting for a while, it feels good to stand up. It feels good to move around. I saw multiple studies on this issue. One where it was by Debbie Piscore. She followed 3 to 7-year-olds and the way that they played with a marble run. So having that free time to discover new topics and even just with guidance from the teacher, they were able to learn new concepts in terms of advanced physics with the way that friction affects their marble run or the way that mass affects. So I read also another article by Dr. Peter Gray. He explained how schools are commonly, they follow one curriculum for each student. Students don't have the ability to explore certain aspects of their learning that they may want to continue in college or in maybe their career. So giving students that free time to kind of discover what they like. I like that the high school and UMS as well, they have those elective courses that we can choose. So maybe even implementing something like that. Or I guess sort of explorative in elementary school, explorative programs for the elementary students. And lastly, I saw a TED Ed video about the importance of just getting up and moving in class and in school. So why sitting is bad for you. It explained that just getting up every 30 minutes or so is important for students. So I was hoping that in the high school, teachers can allow for just 5 minutes break between lessons or just lessons or activities, that there could be at least a break in class for students to restore cognitive function and to just be able to recuperate after a lot of talking or lessons. That's all. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Michelle Dowling. I live in Skillman, New Jersey. I'm speaking as a resident of Montgomery who would like to address an important situation. It has come to my attention that previous and current board members have been harassed, defamed, and cyberbullied, both in the past and at present. And I would like the board to publicly and unanimously acknowledge and act upon this fact in order to no longer tolerate any type of harassment, defamation, or cyberbullying of an individual or of a group of board members moving forward. We do not accept this type of behavior from our students, as we hold them accountable for their actions with consequences, including suspension and expulsion. The board needs to uphold the same accountability and model respectful, decent, and honest behavior for our students and our community. If and when this type of behavior takes place, I ask that the board act with counsel from the board attorney to condemn and eradicate any type of harassment, defamation, or cyberbullying of a board member or a group of board members. I implore you to stand united in this critical matter of civility so that board members can continue to serve out their public elected roles in good faith, with peace of mind, and with the regard for their volunteerism that they deserve. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the public? Public comment is now closed. Superintendent McLaughlin, anything you'd like to address?
I just wanted to address Lisa. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your research, and I will share it with Mrs. Pino Bibi at the high school. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to take a point of personal privilege and thank Mr. Julius Nunez for so valiantly stepping in, giving his time, dedication for the last couple of months. I know it's a short tenure, but thank you so much. And we hope to see you around. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion to enter into a brief executive session.
So moved. Second.
It's been properly moved and second for the board to enter into a brief executive session. I will note that there will be no action, personnel matters, and there will be no action taken during this session, and when we come out of session, we will be adjourned. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same right. In executive session. Just want to wish everybody out there Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to reconvene in open session.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same right. At this time, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same right. We are adjourned. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, everything else.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, 'cause